Hey, buddy.
Hey,
How's
how's
it
it going?
Doing well. Lovely Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
Happy day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Eden Podcast. What day is it today? August 30th. Wednesday, August 30th. What's going on today, Cozy? Tell me. Talk to me.
Looks pretty
Pretty non-eventful.
blah.
Yeah.
You call it non-eventful. I call it blah. Looks pretty blah today.
Yeah.
Little
I
bump.
mean, like we had big news yesterday. Obviously, they're most likely going to appeal. So, it could be more drawn out. We're used to having things fast, quick. But unfortunately, we'll see. There's I think either Thursday or Friday, there is another Bitcoin first deadline or Bitcoin ETF first deadline. Doubtful that they'll approve, but I know that we can go back. We can go on to this. Actually, let's just cover this first, I guess. So yeah, yesterday we saw what, like 7% gain, I think. Sounds about right. All around the Grayscale Bitcoin spot ETF news. The SEC will most likely appeal that it was unlawful for them to stop Grayscale from transitioning their GBTC trust into an ETF. However, I think that there is another ETF deadline later this week, either tomorrow or Friday. So if they change their stance, then maybe they'll do a bulk approval tomorrow. That could be great. We could have some crazy news tomorrow, or they'll appeal and they'll continue to push the deadline. I still think that it's going to be closer to January. Sometime in Q1 is if we actually get an approval. However, the prediction markets went up from, I think, 50% in 2023 to 65% in 2023 and 75% in 2024. So, I mean, we got the we got the prediction market probabilities in our favor. We'll see if they're right. They usually are. It's the whole allure of prediction markets.
Those can change pretty quickly. I
Yep.
was wondering, DK, does this change your kind of outlook on when? Wow, my Nutto was tweaking out. Does this change your stance at all on like when the other day when we were talking, you were saying you didn't think that some of these ETFs would be approved or pushed through until there was more regulatory framework that had kind of been laid out. Do you think
Oh, for
now?
the Fed?
Yeah, yeah. Do you think now with Grayscale kind of winning this, that this moves things a bit quicker, pushes things up a little sooner, or do you think it's more of just a quote unquote issue that'll now be in the limelight and kind of has to be talked about and decided on a bit quicker?
Look, I mean, I've been saying this for, I don't know, a year almost at this point. I think that crypto will be a bipartisan issue for the next election. You're definitely seeing it now. And obviously it's more of the left is anti and the right is pro. Some of them are using it as a platform position. Some of them are just keeping it like in, kind of in the background. We saw, is it the mayor of Florida withdraw, I think, and he was obviously very pro crypto. We still have Vivek, who's the dark horse, I think, who's pro crypto. But you're already starting to see it in Congress, and I think we're going to continue to see that. The Fed is kind of the critical point on whether if a Bitcoin ETF is kind of pushed, can they like push flows through it? Can they operate? In the example that I gave yesterday for like an ETF, the creation redemption process, BlackRock is going to, outsource the creation redemption process. Typically they do to some sort of third-party broker. And those brokers are, they usually have banks tied to them. And even though these are different business lines, they, operate under one large group umbrella. And if one part of their group being like consumer deposits and in that realm is kind of, what's the word? Their hands are tied because they are under the regulation of the Fed. And then the broker side of the business wants to participate in the ETF creation redemption process where they need to get spot Bitcoin to buy and sell spot Bitcoin. I mean, it's more of like how things look, right? So can they like technically operate without the Fed's guidance and the SEC approving? Yes, technically they can. Do they want to get on the bad side of the Fed, even though, just from like the perspective of the Fed and how they look at these different organizations? Probably not, but we'll see. I mean, they can technically, the ETF can coexist without Fed guidance. Yes. Do I think that it's going to bring more, expedite the process, if you will? Maybe. I still think that going into it will definitely pick up speed within the next year, right? We're almost a year into the election. We're at 14 months out from the election, roughly. So I think that things will pick up. If we get an ETF approval early, that will expedite things faster. But I still kind of think that it might be closer to January before we actually see any approvals come through.
How many other presidential candidates will release their own NFT collection prior to the debates?
He's not going to take a stance on it, I don't think. However, if you remember last time he was elected, the markets rallied hard the day after election. I was not anticipating that. So when he won over Hillary, that happened. So, The markets, regardless, is more of a risk-on environment when you have Republicans in the executive office.
I just
But
want some Vivek on the blockchain.
hey, man, yeah, they should do a fundraising event with it. Why not?
Nobody has the experience that Trump has in Web3.
Mm-mm.
Nobody.
No, I don't think you can actually do that because there are certain restrictions regarding campaign financing. And so you can't directly fund a candidate. An individual contribution can only be so many X dollars. However, a super PAC could do it. So should we start an NFT based super PAC and we just fund it based on NFT sales? I think we're onto something here. I think we're definitely onto something here.
Maki, he has been on my ass for a long time to get more involved in politics. It's just like, there's not enough people in our industry that have the funds or, talking skills to be able to relay a lot of the important issues to like our members of Congress, our mayors, or whatever. Um, so I remember I told him when I had like met our mayor, and he's like, "Oh, I thought you were gonna tell me you were running for mayor." Nah, nah.
I mean, my like life goal, it's like when I'm in my 50s, has always been to like try to run for Senate. We'll see.
I'd
We'll
vote
see
for
if I get there. Who knows?
I don't remember his name, but there was a guy that was he was a urine strategist, and he was running for I want to say Senate.
I think I remember this.
Yeah, I sent some money to them. I didn't even like really align with um a lot of his stances that he was going on, but a guy in crypto, one of our fellow DeFi strategists, got to help support him.
Yeah, I agree. Um, we'll see what happens later this week, but I think 2024 is still the play. It's also like, I mean, the Illuminati, conspiracy theory in me, also, well, not necessarily conspiracy theory, but is like if there was to be a catalyst event, you would want it to be in a time in which the markets are more aligned, and midsummer is not that time. You know, I think that a Q1 play is you got winter, people are still like behind their desks all day. They're not out enjoying the summer and the beach and the sun. And so end of August or, beginning of September play is still, like we discussed, sell in May and go away. Typically come back in October. I feel like it's not the right time if I was the SEC and I was trying to align with stakeholders that are on the business side of traditional finance. But hey, they don't have to. I mean, they're not. They technically are supposed to be regulating them. Right? They're supposed to be the boss.
Yeah, what do you know? You
Yeah.
definitely did not work in traditional finance or
Mhm.
deal with them at all
Yeah.
in a past life.
Yeah. There's definitely not, requests. Anyways, so let's move on. One thing that's interesting is news came out yesterday. I think it was bigger news than it was in July. However, X got its money transmitter license in Rhode Island. However, this is the seventh state in which it's received its money transmitter license. I don't know why it hit the news yesterday and not necessarily in July. But what do you think the play is there?
I think that X, formerly known as Twitter, Elon stated pretty publicly that his goal is for it to be the everything app. So my thesis is that you will be able to in the future easily trade stocks via stock tickers, probably crypto the same way. I know there was some functionality previously where like if you clicked on a cash tag for a stock or a crypto asset, that it would show you kind of like in the, I don't know, beginning of the list of all of the tweets and like data they'd show you. It would show you like a chart of the asset and some information on it. So I kind of see them going this direction where, Twitter is this app where you can easily buy and sell stocks like you would on Robinhood, buy and sell crypto, as well as
Yeah,
all
you,
the
you
other.
saw the trading view integration, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You see yesterday, and this was like super, super weird. Coinbase tweeted out that in their partnership with X, they now have. So one of the things, taking a step back, one of the things that you get with a verified organizational account is you can put up your listings of open roles, right? I've seen this with like tons of different projects that have, the gold star, and they have right underneath their profile description or whatever is different open roles.
Yeah, yeah.
And
You could do that on your own if you have if you set it up as a professional, like verified account. You could put links beneath of, you know, uh, different sites that
I think
you.
they removed that. I think they removed that when they removed the newsletter subscription and they replaced it with um, tweets that just go to your subscribers.
Touche, possibly.
I think they did, but I know but it looks exactly the same.
Yeah,
Like
I
they
think
just repurposed that exact same like component for open roles. I agree with you that like it seems like they just repurposed it.
gotcha. Yeah,
Um,
I only use the,
it's like the little
one
sliding
stuff
thing
for.
underneath. And anyways, Coinbase was like, we partnered with X and Elon Musk, and now you can see all of our open roles underneath our description. But like they weren't the first ones to do it. I've been seeing it for like the last few weeks. So, and then a bunch of other people were like, "Hey, we do that too." A bunch of other organizations with gold stars. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
maybe
partnered
that
with some Apple for Friend Tech. So my Friend Tech keys are sponsored by Apple through our partnership.
because it's on the Apple phone, the iPhone.
I still use
Yeah,
that.
no. So maybe this is one of the first forays, right, of them starting to build up this idea of partnership between Coinbase and X. Is what I'm getting into, right? Of like, because yeah, obviously he wants X to be the everything app. He wanted PayPal to be the everything app, but then he sold it. But that's why he owns X.com, because he's owned it since before he had PayPal, because he wanted to turn PayPal into the everything app. So it's been something he's been thinking about for a while. But it is, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like in the East with like the WeChats that like you pay for everything on your social apps. And I mean, if you're like a retail or retail vendor and you didn't take on those that payment style, then like you got left in the dust. And so now it's like the norm to pay through your app. There's a lot of cool stuff you get with that, but there's also a lot of dystopian things that you get with that. But the
Oh,
US kind of
love
needs that
those.
consolidation, I think.
I'm a super app advocate even
Yeah.
prior to like any of this Elon and Twitter talk. I've always kind of talked about how I think super apps are kind of, I don't know if I'd say end game, but it's one of the like end states for UX for apps. Like eventually there are kind of the fang of like
Hmm.
UI apps that people are going to use. And
Hmm.
then after those are kind of cemented, then it comes to like who's created the best interface, who's created the best UX for using all of these apps that everybody already uses every day. Um, and whoever, does that kind of wins at whenever we're at that stage of I don't know, development in our industry or really any like industry, right? Because like you could take what Elon's doing now with traditional finance and Web2 apps, and maybe it's combining all of those with his foot in the door for crypto. Then he takes it a step farther, and there's this merging of the Web2 and Web3 apps and financial tooling. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's things that I pay for in perpetuity, and I will pay for my entire life because I'm like so bought in. We need that for the payment experience, right? We were talking about this actually a bit yesterday, huh? It doesn't exist, at least in the West.
yeah,
I think that there's some groups that are trying to get there, like you're trying, like the Revoluts and the Venmos and stuff are trying to get there, but they move too slow. Anyways,
yeah. I
I
don't
think
know,
that's the play.
like that have really kind of, I don't know, are doing enough volume or have acquired enough users to kind of compete up there.
I don't know if you ever looked at the money transmitter. There's like a site in the US anyways, where you can look up a organization, like an entity, legal entity, and then see like what states they have money transmitter licenses in. And so like you have like the PayPal's, which have like money transmitter license like everywhere, or the Coinbases, which have like money transmitter licenses everywhere. I'd be interested, like, and I know that it's just a lot of time to get all those money transmitter licenses. Is like it's just like completing applications and you're submitting them, and then it's you copy pasta for 50 states. I wonder if it would make sense just to like integrate with a partner if I was Elon Musk to kind of just get things out the door faster. But I don't know. I
That's
guess
what a
you
lot
don't get to control the stack then.
of apps do.
Hmm?
A lot of the traditional, like, non-custodial applications or interfaces, I mean, that's what they do because of all the licensing red tape is they partner with MoonPay.
Also to kind of piggyback, I don't know if it's kind of related, but the SEC shot down. No, it wasn't the SEC. What's the SEC? Or is Department of Labor shot down the idea that crypto and retirement plans is acceptable. So there was
Fuck
I
am I
think
gonna
it was
retire?
401ks. It was like is crypto acceptable to put into a 401k or an
Uh,
IRA for the US anyways. And they said, no, it's still too risky to allocate any percentage. There was someone that was trying to push it trying to push that agenda. Now, obviously, there are ways that you can work around this. It's not the UX on it sucks. You have to like set up a legal entity, and then you have to get like a legal entity account at these like crypto exchanges, and then like there are certain restrictions in how you can buy and sell using the funding from your retirement account. And if you ever commingle that with like a normal brokerage account, then you lose all the tax benefits, and kind of difficult, but you can still technically do it. So they're trying to alleviate that. I think if there was to be like a major catalyst event, retirement accounts being able to allocate money easily into crypto could be a big one. There's so much capital in pensions, retirements, IRAs, stuff like that,
boomer
401ks.
finance makes everything so difficult.
When I hear the word 401k or IRA, I just like imagine just like this like 75-year-old man in the back of my head. It's just
I think
like
about carbon.
it just it just every time I say that word, I just think of like a super old man. So yeah, I agree with you. All right, let's talk about DYDX. Uh, something huge unlock coming up. However, V4,
Trillion in trading volume.
yeah, they hit 1 trillion trading volume, which is fuck nuts.
It's pretty crazy.
Nuts. They're about to after I think it's been delayed for what? I think their initial go live was like about a year ago. So
Yeah,
it's been about a year
V4, right?
delay.
V4?
It's huh? Yeah, I think the
4?
V4 for running on a Cosmos
Yep.
based implementation on its own chain was expected. Their initial expectation was to deliver it in Q4 of 2022. They've been working on it for obviously a very long time, and we're it's turning the corner now. The
Wow,
DYDX
that's
chain.
good. Developers should just be banned from giving release dates. Like, that should be a crime in itself. If
Uh,
the release date comes out of a developer's mouth, it's like immediate jail time.
Yeah, well, especially in our space. You know me, I whenever someone says a deadline, I'll 3x it. Um, because it's like usually like the most technical person giving the deadlines and they forget that, there's a team of 10, 20, 30, 100 people that don't work as fast as that single person and then they don't even think about the complexities. So, integration
They're usually
complexities,
telling you
that's a base level 2x.
they're usually telling you the deadline for when their research is complete.
Yeah. When we think we'll start writing the code.
Uh,
Yeah, I completely agree. But people have to know when. Um, if you don't, but it's a balance between marketing and development because you need a carrot bob, you need a reason for people to stay interested, you need a reason for people to stay committed and invested, um, both financially, but then also like mentally, cognitively, right? And staying updated on what's going on. If we were like, we release this and we're never going to update it again, like then no one would you'd lose all focus, all attention gravity. So I get it, but and I also do think that announcing a lot of like major things with at least some level of concrete backing or like a research paper or something, and then in the future delaying is like okay, it's acceptable. Then like either not announcing anything or announcing something and then not having concrete backing. Like I feel like especially the last like 6 months, there's been a lot of people like announcing things and then like there's no concrete backing or it's like half-assed or like barely thought out. And so like that they're gonna have like super fundamental changes in the future, or it's just like releasing a white paper and then the white paper like it's just like concepts.
yeah.
It's annoying. Um it's like you clearly haven't thought this out yet. There's a lot more complexities here. You can't just call it a white paper when it's really like a worse than a light paper. Anyways,
My favorite are the, white papers that are released on Google Docs.
yeah, yeah, dude, you're not a real white paper writer if you don't know what latex is. Okay,
I need
if
my
you're not wearing latex while you're writing your white paper,
They wouldn't let me in the group chat because I wouldn't use latex.
95% of people have no idea what we're talking about.
I have a latex meme I posted one time.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
They
Yeah.
follow me, they should know. Alright, next thing,
No, well, real quick before. So, in my eyes, DYDX is the only platform that actually has a reason to have their own chain. What are your
why
thoughts
do you
on
say that?
all these other app chains?
Don't get me into app chain stuff. My general thoughts on app chains are that like an app chain for a DeFi app is usually like an end state. And I kind of brought up that I think when you get to there being developers building things like super apps for DeFi, when you have these kind of like FANG apps protocols that aren't going anywhere and provide substantial value. Um, shit, hold on one. sorry about that. Um, that once you've kind of reached like that level of success and you have like extremely sticky capital volume TVL, like whatever metric you want to throw out there that has to do with capital retention and usage, um, that's when you kind of start thinking about like going app chain. Um, if you're doing it prior to that, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot because you're losing composability with other DeFi protocols. You're asking liquidity to possibly do something cumbersome to come over and use your platform. Um, you're asking them to trust you because you're the one that runs usually the sequencer or the node infrastructure. Um, I don't know. I think there's a lot of trade-offs that kind of move you away from DeFi.
Do
Might
you
be the
think
best way to say it.
so? Right now, okay, so obviously regulators are behind, right? Especially in terms of understanding the tech. And right now, they're writing a lot of the regulation around miners or node operators as being exempt from some of these things, right? Now, if you are running an app chain, you run all the node infrastructure, you run the sequencer, it's very much centralized. Like if you're running an app chain and you say you're decentralized and you're the only infrastructure provider, then I think that's very silly to say. Um, but the way the regulation is written is that, node operators are kind of exempt from this. Is that like a regulatory arbitrage play? Or do you think they'll come up to speed and figure it out that like, oh, these people are trying to circumnavigate the way that the law is written, and they'll come back and ultimately deem that some of these groups are actually extremely centralized and that they're not sufficiently decentralized. Maybe.
I had never thought of it from a regulatory arbitrage play. um,
I mean, I get the business use case, right? The business use case is, sure, I can monetize another layer by running the sequencer, right? And so even though
that
people
is
are
like
paying
the best
quote
way
unquote
to use it.
gas, right? I get all these sequencer fees, right? And that's the play for base. That's the play for some of these app chains. But it doesn't make sense to like, if you don't have the gravitas to get your users to jump onto your island, it doesn't make sense.
Like when years ago when I was working in at a more corporate-ish crypto place, and I was talking with lawyers on a more regular basis around different jurisdictional or regulatory um, laws, guidelines that we'd have to follow. Um, it seemed as if like trying to skirt around regulation based off an interpretation like that, like saying like, oh, well, node operators are exempt, and we are the node operators of our own network, and like doing these things that very clearly would look like to them that you only did them to try to skirt around their language, that they wouldn't fly.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
because there were a lot of times that I would come to the conversation and they loved that I would try to use the way that the language was presented to build a case for us not, falling within to um, the rails that they had kind of set or preset. And yeah, they thought it was great. They're like, "You'd make a great lawyer, but, that would never, hold up." So I don't think that if you were doing it purely off of, you think that, the law is going to be interpreted one way, because of it literally stating, something, so you're gonna build in a different way. I don't think that, that's gonna save you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the semantics element, like judges don't care. Like they'll look at the law and be like, well, sure, you're a node operator. But there's one node and it's you, and so everything goes through you. Even like some of these like conduits or Caldera or whatever, like these like one click set up your own chain Optimus, your OP fork is like, okay, they'll run like multiple nodes for you, which you still control. Like you still set all the, like you can change what gets censored, you can change what gets included, you can change like what types of transactions are free, which ones cost gas. Like it's just like this is why I think that it started to get out of control already. And this is why like the law of chains and the OP super chain narrative started getting pushed really quickly, is because they're starting to be like, oh, well, now we're getting all these like pop-ups. A lot of the extraction is happening at the sequencer level. And we're starting to get this fractured ecosystem within the OP stack. And so they started to bring everything back in and be like, okay, well, now you have to adhere to the law of chains, or otherwise, like, we don't really recognize you.
Am I crazy, or are we like going backwards in progress? Like we
It depends how you look at it.
history, we're looking at things and going, you know, in order to succeed, we need to reach different states of
My,
sufficient decentralization.
my,
And now we're going in DeFi, the thing that's supposed to be kind of the most decentralized of financial tooling. Let's step it back and let's uh,
centralize it again.
centralize it
Look,
all
I have
for
a
the
very hot take on this, and I think the reason is that we had a hot ball of money come in. We had a lower caliber of developers come in. And now these lower caliber of developers are like, instead of me trying to stick to the rules of the game, I'm just going to create a new game, right? And so like, I'm going to go outside the normal standards so that there's no like, I can't adhere to this rule in the thing that I want to build, but I still want to call it DeFi. So I can't solve for it. So I'm just going to change the rules of the game. I'll make a new game. And I think that that's because we had these lower caliber of developers come in. Personally, that's why I think. And so you get these people that are late stage, right? They're coming to crypto before like this decentralization maxi part of people came in. So they don't really care about that. It's more about UX. It's more about like, money grab, or like, how can I build this and then put it on chain and call it decentralized when it's really the same thing as centralized. And I can't solve for the problems that are inherent with the constraints of an EVM. So I'm going to work around them.
Yeah,
And there's
uh,
tooling popping up to do that. You can one click deploy that stuff.
I was saying it on the exit liquidity pod we were on, but like, it's a double-edged sword. I have this duality where I'm like such a whore for good UX, and like, when you're designing something or like giving input on design, you are thinking about all the ways that you can eliminate steps for a user, eliminate clicks, make things smooth, add the right colors, sounds, animations to like pull people in. But then on the other end of it, for like crypto stuff, you kind of like want bad UX almost to return, because the good UX has caused people to uh like forget about security, forget about their safety, forget about like all of the things that are kind of important to using crypto, because it works just like my Robinhood app, or it looks and feels just like my other apps. Um, so like, that things need to be designed in a way where the UX is better than everyone else, and it feels very smooth and looks, flashy and classy. And but on the other end of it, like, you appreciate things like the old Curve UI, or what was it called? Core, maybe, or something? There was
Yeah,
another.
core the yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
still around. They're still kicking, I think.
Like that. Um, not only are they nostalgic, but like they're a bit more cumbersome, right? Like the average user is going to go there and like they don't really know what they're doing. And that's kind of good for them.
Yeah, it's a feature, not a bug. The amount of clicking and fees that you have to pay.
Yeah.
It's actually a gate, so you actually know what you're doing, which is fair, I think. Um,
Just
hey,
thinking
look, I mean, I'm all for more
about
adoption, but I think that we're starting to tailor to the hot ball of money that is not understanding what the ethos or the use case between like what crypto is supposed to be used for, and they're more looking for like, how do I farm this attention, you know, airdrop, and it's going to be the next, it's you get a bunch of people with chasing a small amount of airdrops, because if you think about it from like a funding perspective of like an airdrop is like you're kind of creating money out of thin air, right? Same thing that kind of happens with a business opportunity, but in crypto it's a lot quicker to like doing these accounting entries and then kind of creating this money out of thin air. And so you can entice people to use your product by creating money out of thin air.
But isn't every speculative asset money being creative kind of out of thin air? Like think of a Pokemon card, right? Uh Pokemon cards are money created out of thin air. They're all made of the same material, but there are, you have the chance of pulling one or a few out of every new pack that other people value much more than the other 149 in the pack that you just pulled. So like isn't any
Yeah, I
quote
mean, you could say the same thing about art,
unquote
right?
out of thin air?
Like you're taking $50 worth of paint in a canvas and turning it into a million.
Mhm. Yeah, that's where I have fundamental misunderstandings with a lot of our laws around finance and classifications of different assets because everything is the same when you really like break it down. Like anything that people are going to buy or trade that's uh, we could like break them into two categories: consumable and non-consumable. um But,
Yeah,
like,
I
other
mean,
than that, everything's the same. Like, a car, right, has value because of all the parts that were used to build it, but then, like, whatever the market decides,
yeah,
and some old cars are worth a lot, other old cars aren't worth shit. Um,
yeah, I'm all for
and
like the
not only
libertarian perspective of like you can spend money on whatever you spend money on, and you can value it however you want. Um, but I do think that some of the newer groups to crypto are like specifically looking for like just airdrop farming, and it's like it's
oh, I totally agree with you.
vanity metrics. It's not real adoption. It's people chasing
Like,
the
the conversation
idea.
that grinds my gears the most is about, like, anons in crypto because it's like, "Dude, who the fuck are you?" Like, this industry was built by anons and pseudo anons, like, who are you to come in here and start talking about why are there so many anons and pseudo anons here?
Yeah,
People should
well,
have to dox, like, why is this even a conversation that we're entertaining? Those are the I don't know, those are the conversations that I hop in and I always, like, will fight
yeah.
for
I
anonymous
mean,
right.
I don't think people need to dox, but I do understand the talking point of proof of personhood, right?
Who's lost more money? Who's lost more of retail's money?
Oh
People
yeah, this has been this has been, even
or
before Sam. This was already the case.
who is better at self-policing in the crypto community? Anonymous developers, even though they're policing people who they don't, they can't really identify, or people with faces. Like My biggest issue with it is like when you have a face, you're no longer judged purely on your reputation and proof of work. You're now able um to project like your emotions onto people, and you know your the way that you're using your facial gestures, your facial features, like you're able to express physical uh as well as your internal emotions, and then trick people into thinking like, yeah, but he is a really good guy. Like, did you see the way he looked when he was apologizing? Did you see the way that he, looked when he did this or said this? Um, "Oh, I saw him on this podcast." Like, you should have seen the way his eyes looked when he was like, "What the fuck is that?" You know what I mean? Like,
That's
but
your monkey brain, right? So that's like the whole allure of like vlogs and like the whole allure of like this parasocial relationship, right? Of like your monkey brain sees a face. The first time you maybe see a face, you oppose the face. It's not, you're not comfortable with the face. But the more times you see a face, then the more your monkey brain will get comfortable seeing this person, and the more you'll start to trust them. And you just like block that part of your monkey brain if it's like an anonymous person. Right. And so this is just like, this is second nature stuff of like people who follow influencers and vloggers and stuff like that, is that they see their face. Their brain doesn't know how to comprehend that this is actually like a digital face, and they're talking to a million people and not just me specifically. And so I will interpret that as you're speaking to me directly. And like this is the whole cognitive elements, neuroscience elements of like influencer marketing, right?
yeah,
Is our brain doesn't know how to properly understand and interpret this.
yep, that is,
So don't use your monkey brain.
yeah, that's the whole game on YouTube, Twitch, and like the new. Uh, I mean, you can just summarize it as influencer marketing, but like it's now become a genre like in itself. Like it used to be like a branch of just marketing, and now like
It's leading the market. It's
like,
leading
yeah,
marketing
leading
now.
the market exactly. Um, kind of
If you
crazy,
look at
but
any of the stats, it's like a person is more inclined to buy something that another individual tells them than a faceless corporate, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
it's
hundred
it's
percent.
just it's just all manipulation stuff. Monkey brain, reptilian
All
brain.
the way down.
All right, we got one more thing to cover real quick. Then we can call it close today. Is we got another player in the multi-sig game, Avocado, who first made a name from its multi-chain enabled wallet. They were kind of one of the first in the account abstraction by Avocados by Incidap. They come with a multi-sig flavor of their multi-chain enabled wallet. Uh, Interesting to see. I think that again, this is like a UX thing. You can actually set the multi-sig to be so one of the fundamental issues with, if you're a multi-sig user, a traditional safe multi-sig user, is in the past there was no like create two elements where you had to deploy a different contract on different addresses. So like you might have address X, Y, and Z on the mainnet, ABD on Arbitrum, NWO on whatever optimism. And so it kind of became an issue when you need to like have the same wallet on multiple different chains. But they fixed that. Now there's like small dApp, which allows you to then redeploy your safes on all the chains using a deterministic method. So it's the same wallet address on everyone, and so on every chain. And so Avocado natively just at the beginning allows this, and then you can set parameters based on chains. So on Polygon, let's say you have 5 people in multisig. On Polygon, you need 3 of 5. On mainnet, you need 5 of 5. So we'll see. I wasn't too bullish on their auditors.
I
So
missed one part when we were talking about it earlier, about the like multi-chain deployment of the multi-sigs, and that part of it's huge. I remember not even a year ago, I want to say, didn't Wintermute
Yeah,
fall victim to,
yeah, they did.
I don't want to say an exploit, but like
They sent
uh,
it to the multi-sig address on the wrong chain, so they used their Ethereum multi-sig address on Optimism, and then someone was able to back into deterministically set up a multi-sig on that address on Optimism, and then they got a hold of the funds because it wasn't set up by Wintermute yet. And so Safe has fixed this, hence, right? So now you can actually set up the same wallet on multiple chains and have it just creates with the same exact signers. But yeah, it was like 20 million OP tokens or something crazy.
yeah. Well, it's still cool that you can set it up with different parameters on different chains and kind of make them chain specific with Avocado. I was a big user of Instadap last year. There just hasn't really been a lot of shit going on for me to utilize it recently, but yeah, I loved Instadap, so it's really cool to see them. I remember seeing Avocado at maybe ECC. I saw some stuff by them, or maybe ETH Denver. I don't know,
I
one of the more recent, conferences we went to,
Well,
and
they definitely understand that the flashier the marketing is going to win. It's going to take a lot of the market of the account abstraction wallets, and like they do fancy stuff. I think it looks like a lot of their videos and their like the way that they showcase the UI and stuff is slick. Um, I haven't used it because I trust no one, but
I'm giving you guys this for free, but you need to create a product within Avocado called Toast. You can thank me later.
one of the one of the shitcoins that I mined in DeFi Summer, I was like also part of like the community and stuff a lot was called Toast.
I remember Toast.
And then they put up another token. I think that was like egg, and another token that was like AVO. Anyways, the good old DeFi days.
Do you think we're gonna have like it's weird because time is a flat circle, but you know things change, right? Like they're not always exactly the same. Do you envision that just before we really run, that the new crew, the new entrants, that they find DeFi the way that we did? Like, or is it just
I
gonna be us, like, like this small pot of money that sees like old Ponzi with new wrapper, goes, "Oh, I know this game. This will be fun," and like it's just us stealing money from each other again.
No, I think it will. Time is a flat circle, and we'll see the whole thing over again. So the other day, I posted a tweet on the Yams interface, right? And those are like the bigger DeFi players of the time, right? So it was like Aave, I think Chainlink, Synthetics,
Sure, and synthetic.
Compound, Yearn. And so like that was the beginning of that run. And all those are like major players now, right? And some of those groups haven't like done any innovation since they launched then, right? And they're still like a major player. I will, I mean,
Well,
I'm
because
not I'm not trying to hate on Compound, but like has Compound released anything? I feel like they haven't released anything since DeFi Summer in 2020.
they launched one thing, I want to say, like there was a V2 upgrade not that long ago. But
But
who
yeah, so like so
is
I think that yeah, well, the new players that come up in this next market will probably be part of these like goofy. I don't know if we're going to see food farms again, but there's going to be something where there's like a new open source um, type of a mixture of Uniswap LP and the synthetic staking contract that everyone starts utilizing and creates new things for. At the same time, though, I think that all of the major players in the foreseeable like market turn were already established. I think, like at this point, it's like you're gonna get consumed. Like you see this with Uniswap, right? Obviously, is like they're gonna take all the good ideas and they're gonna integrate it into their product. So I all the big players, I think, will take the innovative ideas and like cherry pick them into their products in the future. So I think that like all the big players in the future have already been established. I don't think you're going to see like someone pop out of nowhere and be like some new
A
primitive
new
that
money
is.
market.
Yeah, exactly. I think that all of the like major foundational things have been established now. The players have entered the space, and now it's just cherry picking the good ideas or coming up with your own. It's like there's so much reuse like groups that just copy other people's ideas nowadays. But I do think that we will see maybe some consolidation. I'm surprised we haven't seen any like mergers or like acquihires. Like I think that we should see more of that. Um, and I also think that from
Being
obviously
the
it's
last one.
already starting to move this way, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but like the BSL type licenses, and then the enforcement of a different ideas of like enforcement of someone that's infringing on your your code and
Have we
taking them to
seen
court.
anyone
Hmm?
get has anyone been,
Not to my knowledge.
sought after
Mm-mm.
for no, no. Has anyone even tried? Like, I feel like,
It's more of a threat, I think, and I think it's a threat that's actually kind of working. And we'll just see if somebody actually takes the threat and actually enforces it. We'll see.
yeah, because like, behind the scenes in conversations, it didn't really seem like anyone wanted to test Uniswap.
Yeah, I mean, they had I think what they raised. I think when they did V3, they raised like 150 million at like a 4 billion market cap or something crazy like that. Like they had money to go after anyone that was trying to set up a legitimate business and try to fork their code. So like the threat worked.
Yeah.
And then what did SushiSwap do? SushiSwap just waited until the license expired and then just like and still copied them.
The problem is that it took them so long that they couldn't steal any attention from, like, launching it. Like, if they would have launched, what were they calling it back then? Their version of
Trident.
Trident. Yeah, if they would have launched Trident back when they were making all the noise about it, it would have boded, like, very well for them, I think.
Yeah,
And
but I don't think Trident was really like a. I mean, I don't know. I haven't followed sushi that much, and I've been following them even less and less since our new boy Jared has been entered the fray. But it doesn't look like they're doing anything cool over there, right? Like
they're not.
they had the whole NFT
They
platform that they made all this buzz about, and then they never released it. And
well, they
like the
axed all their
Trident thing, did they
product
ever even deploy Trident? I don't know.
on Polygon. So
They
they
did.
only deployed it on Polygon, and then, yeah, they axed all their, like, innovative products, and that's why I'm saying, like, if they would have launched Trident back when they had hype, they would have still kept a lot of the attention gravity around them being, like, an organization that shipped and dripped, that was still putting out, like, innovative products. They were more than just, uh, a DEX competitor to Uniswap, and then I who's to say whether it was Jared's, doing or not, but once he took over, I think it was, like he said, "We're gonna focus on just the exchange."
Yeah,
Um,
but then they waited till April for the license to expire, and then they just deployed Uniswap V3 on all of the chains.
yeah, but they had already axed
What are
all
they
the other
focusing on?
products and, like exactly. And that's kinda my point, like, they axed all the products that people could be excited about. They didn't deploy when they had attention around, "Hey, we're, still gonna kinda eat Uniswap's lunch. We're doing the same thing as them
They
on
keep
our
all the they
hosting
keep
side."
all the fees, and then they pay the top contributors $500,000,
Yeah, and,
which is nuts. It
uh,
should be tied to actual like how well the the protocol's doing, right? It should be like a 3-year tied to, okay, we'll do 1 year where we keep all the fees, and then even though I don't think that was the right play, but then my compensation is going to be based on year 3, right? Like do an Elon Musk type of thing, right? Or it's like I'll take 250K, that's all I need, the very comfortable life, and then in year 3, if I hit this certain thing, then you can pay me $1 million, just 500K up front to
Is wild.
slash the team, slash the products, buy a unknown perp deck.
He doesn't own any Australian real estate property, does he?
Fuck, dude, I don't know.
It's always the red flag, that if the founder is looking for or owns a medium-sized home or more in Australia, your protocol is doomed.
Hey man, Curve's still pumped. I think did I see correctly that all of those OTC trades where he sold, they're below their entry now?
Yeah, they are.
It was a brilliant play, because if he would have dumped that on the market, he would have nowhere gotten near that entry price. He sold OTC to a bunch of people at a price way better than he would get at dumping on the market.
Yeah, he made out like a bandit.
He's a smart dude. He took $100 million loan, bought a bunch of houses, then got everyone scared about the whole DeFi infrastructure. Was able to sell even more of his tokens.
Absolute fucking genius.
He's a smart dude. But I mean, Curve's not going anywhere. So,
yeah.
But they will mint infinitely. So.
Yeah, I was.
The price of the token in the future will probably be less than the price of the token today.
I was psyoped at one point into buying CRV because of stake CRV yields, and let me tell you, Curve is one of the few long-standing tokens that still finds a way to only go down the longer you hold it.
Like, it makes sense to me, because like they're the way that they're curved, their emission curve is like it stalls out, right? Like it stalls. It will print to infinity, but it stalls out. And I would wait until the curve is a little bit flatter. But
It wouldn't.
Anyways, all right, we're at time. So I think that's a wrap for today's episode. I will put a plug to sign up for our newsletter, because I think starting next week we'll try to get out like 2 a week, and then we'll go from there, because then we start to do a lot of travel. But then maybe we'll pick up in October again. But we'll try to get 2 newsletters a week. So sign up for that if you haven't already.
You can sign up for that at eden.beehive with no E. So it's eden.
And 2 I's.
HIIV. Oh, I didn't know.
It's on the Twitter.
Yeah, I put it up on the Twitter. YouTube's in the bio. Twitch is in the bio if you guys want to come chat during the stream. And for any builders in crypto, if you're building something new, something cool, you want to come on and just chat about what you're doing, hit us up.
Happy to have you.
Yep. All right, guys. Wrap. See you tomorrow.